Welcome to Stars and Glitterballs with Jess and Lindsay.
This episode is talking all about the Strictly Results show. It's a controversial topic in the Strictly fandom, I feel like.
It is, yeah.
Um, there's just a lot of varying opinions, really. Obviously, one of the biggest things being that it isn't live. Um, compared
Sorry
to
if you didn't know
yeah,
that.
sorry for the spoilers. Should have really put a spoiler warning. Compared to its rivals and counterparts, so like X Factor, BGT, they do have live results shows. Usually
Yeah,
they air kind of later on in the evening, don't they? I
yeah,
think there's
yeah,
kind of like something in between, usually sandwiched in between, that isn't
yeah.
related to that. Um, yeah, so it's not live, and there has been, I'm not sure how long there's been a spoiler for, but I would say for a good few years now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Dave, just Dave Thorpe, isn't it? That's his name.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dave Thorpe. He is kind of the guy on Twitter who leaks the spoiler every week. Usually it causes a lot of anxiety because usually it's delayed on certain weeks, isn't it? I think
yeah.
Blackpool tends to be quite delayed, just certain weeks, and people are anxiously waiting for him to post it, and then it gets round everywhere and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
It spreads so fast.
yeah, I mean, you know what rumours are like, and this is exactly the same. It spreads like wildfire.
Yeah,
Um, so I thought just maybe we could look at first off just sort of why why it's actually a good thing that it is all done in one night. So in case you don't know how it's actually done, they record the first show of the show. The live show is live as it is, and
yeah,
then they finish that. There's a brief break where the audience get watered and fed.
yeah,
They get given I literally got given a biscuit, chocolate biscuit, and some water. Very nice of them, very kind. Um, you weren't allowed out the premises at all. Your phones are still locked away, etc. And they even make a point of saying, the audience warm up guy does, that if anyone approaches you asking for the result for the sake of the show, please don't give it to them. There is a spoiler guy around. Like, we don't know who it is. They still don't know who it is. They admitted they don't know who it is. So that's
they
quite
must do, surely.
well. That's yeah. He made out like they really had no idea, and it's just like crazy to me how
Yeah, it's not like it's kind of secret.
no. Um. So yeah, I think one of the good things, and probably the thing that I didn't think about is if it was live, and say if they broadcasted it live on the Sunday, that would be a lot of work for makeup and
Yeah,
costume because they would have to do it all again, especially for Halloween where they have elaborate like face
yeah,
paint or in some
yeah.
cases they would have to do it all over again. It does seem very unnecessary.
Yeah, I can understand why they don't do it live on Sunday. It'd just be a lot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, totally. Um, and also training usually starts on a Monday.
Yeah, so
So
Sunday's a bit like the day off, isn't it?
yeah, so Sunday is their rest, and especially for like the judges, for instance, some of them do other things during the week, and it would be awkward for them just to start. Like Craig directs and choreographs, for instance, it would be awkward for him just to start like if they get home late on a Sunday, just to go straight into whatever he's doing on the
Yeah,
Monday.
yeah, that's
And
true.
Sunday traditionally is like a rest day, isn't it, in the week?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, Another thing is if it was live on a Sunday, they would have to keep to a certain runtime. Um, Whereas with it being pre-recorded, they can edit it down so that it fits that runtime. So usually, I would say the result shows around the 40-minute mark, maybe a bit more.
Yeah, 40, 45.
Yeah, and they have to keep that really strict because you have the news at 10 o'clock, and that has to be usually at 10. They have like programs either side of it, and they just have to keep schedule just for the sake of the whole TV guide, really. Um, Obviously, with it not being recorded, they can like rerun stuff as well. And when I was there, they did like multiple takes of things, which just doesn't happen on the live show because it's live.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, some of the group dances are sometimes pre-recorded, aren't they? If they're kind of
Yeah,
like a lot more to them.
yeah. So this, like, most of the group dances are so detailed. There's so much going on. Um, when I was there, they pre-recorded the results show one before they did anything, before the live show, before any of that. They kind of came out early and did that.
Yeah.
They did 3 takes of it, so they made sure they got the best version. And yeah, there's so much going on. There's props, there's pros everywhere, judges everywhere. Like, it's crazy. Um, but great, yeah, great to watch being done.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously, another thing is that if you look at the ratings, the results show does get quite a noticeable drop in viewers
Yeah.
compared to the live, and I think that is because it's pre-recorded and people do see the spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to agree there.
So obviously the show does then lose money because there's less people watching, and most people
Yeah.
don't want to wait a whole day. I mean, it is almost 24 hours, isn't it, by the time the results show
Yeah.
airs?
Yeah.
And I can understand that to some extent. And also the results show does contain lots of filler, what I call filler content. You usually have, a guest singer. When we were there, we had to act like the guest singer was there, but we didn't have one. We had to act. They said to us, act like Mabel's there, cheer and clap enthusiastically and stuff. There was no one there.
I
We'd had
can't
to
with
be.
that.
We just had to be like, woo.
Yeah. It's like winging it.
Yeah, and obviously because it's pre-recorded, they're hit with fixed claims constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it doesn't do what X Factor does and go to deadlock and go back to the public.
Yeah.
You have the casting vote, which is controversial in itself. Voting figures are not released.
No. I mean, I think like it would be really good if they are. I mean, I can understand why kind of they sort of say, don't they, that, like some celebs, if they don't get any votes, would feel bad and stuff. But
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm sure they won't. Well, I don't know.
they know what
I was gonna say.
they do know what they've signed up for though, and it just it just makes no sense. Like, if you're
Yeah.
like, I just don't know, like, if you're um I don't know, I've just completely lost what I was going to say. I think I was trying to say, like, if you're I don't know what I was trying to say. I don't know. We'll move on. We'll move on.
I was gonna say like if you're kind of sort of a good dancer, but then like don't get any votes, I suppose it could like hurt your
Yeah,
feelings and stuff. But as you say, like they are signing up for.
yeah. What I was going to say, I've remembered it now, is if you're trying to avoid fixed claims, that's like the last thing that you would want to do, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, like, definitely. Um,
Yeah.
and
I know.
I think they should stop with the last night stuff as well, when they say like last night.
Yeah. I kind of like trying to still sort of think that it's, or make people think that it's live when it's not.
Yeah, like, people would be much, I think, much more lenient if they just admitted that it was pre-recorded. That's the worst thing, is that they try and sell it as live when it clearly
Yeah.
isn't.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways that you can tell it isn't. For instance, when there's like random cuts and like dance debrief when it like cuts to Claudia, and
Yeah.
then suddenly, like, Tess is on the balcony, and then the next minute she's downstairs.
Yeah.
That
Then
kind of
like all
thing.
of a sudden the judges are like upstairs and it's like, oh, it was just down there and it go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so many ways that you can just see it. Um, so one of my questions is, do you think Dave is damaging to the show?
Yeah. I was thinking about this. And like I feel like because of the spoiler, there are, as we previously said, like if you sort of see the spoiler, some people might be like, well, what's the point? Like I already know he's gone out. I mean, for me personally, if I look at the spoiler, I still want to watch the show because I want to see like the pro dance and see dance debrief, and obviously I'm not as bothered about the like the extra bit where they're saying about who's gone out, but
Yeah,
I kind of
it
enjoy it
definitely
for the other bits.
takes an element of it away. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I've kind of put like that actually the core viewership, which does tend to be the older generation, are completely unaware of the spoiler because it all takes place on social media.
yeah,
So
yeah,
actually, it doesn't ruin it for as many people as like first four.
yeah. I
Um,
think the vast majority don't know or
even
don't
realise,
look.
yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously, it does ruin it for those who like to wait, and it's very difficult to censor stuff on social media, isn't it? I know on Twitter you can mute certain words or you can mute accounts, but if people retweet or if they quote it or stuff like that, it still comes up.
yeah,
It's very difficult. And when you see that there's a spoiler there, there's such a temptation to click it, isn't it?
yeah. That's my thing.
The
Like, I
curiosity.
feel like, yeah, I kind of like to not know it, but I'm kind of like when it comes out and I know it's out, and I'm like, oh, but I need to go look,
Yeah,
just to kind of
yeah,
be like,
definitely.
was it the right person who went out? And then kind of like sometimes a spoiler will come out, but it's not announced which judges voted for which, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my god, if like it's a shocker to go out, and I'm like, oh my god, who voted for? Like, was it down to Shirley or was it a
yeah,
unanimous decision? And
because that bit's always not clear, is it, to begin with?
no, it
And
usually
that,
comes out eventually, doesn't it?
yeah,
But
and that reminds me actually, they don't ever announce who came second or third, do they? Like, as in
no,
with the when they announce the winner.
yeah, that annoys me.
And like, I think it'd be nice to know, really. And I get having them all equal, like you're all runners up, but they can still be runners up and come third. You know, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, like they
I
do it
think,
on other shows, don't they? Where it's like
yeah,
saying
oh
like in third
yeah,
place.
they count down from like five or whatever it is. But
Yeah,
I think one good thing about Dave is there is some very avid Strictly fans and some who like really support the celeb or really support the pro, and for them, the anxiety or the idea of having to wait an entire day to see if their favourite has got
yeah,
through, you know, it eases a lot of that. So that's obviously a good thing.
yeah. I know. I was looking back on my Twitter DMs the other day, and the first year that I kind of wanted to, or like actively went to look for the spoilers in 2013, and that was kind of before it. Well, to me, it was kind of before it became more of a bigger thing. Um, and like people would just kind of tweet like, I know who's gone out, and then they'd sort of like, you'd say like, can you tell me? And then they'd DM you, DM, I feel like that came out weird.
Yeah,
Um,
DM, yeah.
and yeah. um, so yeah, I feel like it's kind of been going on a long time. And on the Strictly Spoiler website, it says that it used to be on Dave Thorpe's blog in 20 or since 2012, but in 2014 it took off massively and then migrated to its own domain.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so it's been going on for like 6 years this year. Um, but yes, like when I first started doing it, Strictly Spoiler wasn't an official thing.
No.
But I feel like after that, I didn't know about the Strictly Spoiler for a while because I always used to look on Digital Spy, um, which they have got a forum for, they have one for each week for like the spoiler for each week. And it's like a bit of a game. I mean, I've never got involved with it, but they have like the guess what time the spoiler's going to come out, and
Oh
there's like the
wow.
list of all the times like for every minute, and people guess. And I mean, you don't
Wow.
really
That is
get anything
specific,
from
isn't
it,
it?
but
No.
yeah. And they're always like, oh, it's like Blackpool the week this week. It's like
Yeah,
following
that's
trends. It'll be
traditionally
like a
later.
later.
Yeah.
Um, then people vote later, and then sometimes it comes earlier, and it's dead exciting because it's earlier. But so I always used to look on Digital Spy, and then people would be like discussing it as well. And there's
Yeah.
all different forums on there
Yeah, because
about the
there's now
night.
a Facebook page where you can discuss spoilers.
Yeah, yeah, there's that
I
as
think
well.
it's definitely blown up in recent years, especially with the increase of social media.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think it's anything that can ever be stopped because people are
No.
always going to do it. And I mean, I've seen a few people talking this year that if there isn't an audience, will there still be a spoiler?
Yeah, I was just about to say,
Um,
will it be different this year?
yeah, but I think I've seen Dave Thorpe has said that like previously they've had people who are like friends and family of the celebs and things, and also like people who actually work at BBC who do leak it. So
Yeah, so
like that'd be interesting.
I've always wondered, like, is it somebody who is kind of internal and a bit higher up, because everyone gets their phone taken off of them. Although when I was there, the VIP section, there were people with phones, so I reckon it is kind of the elite, if you like, that
Yeah,
do to keep their phones, and then it's got to be they must know who it is
yeah.
by now, but I just don't know. Like, I think it was me, I'd like search everyone's phones and go
I feel
proper
like
like
it's probably like a different person like every week,
yeah,
especially on Digital Spy. There's like a few different people who kind of like say it, like announce it, and kind of like at the start of each week they'll always say like if they've got a mole or not.
yeah. Because
It's
I
like we
do
haven't
think
got a mole this week, so we're relying on other sources. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, because I do think it's interesting that um they do make a point of mentioning it now. Like I say, that if you are approached by anyone for the sake of the show, like please just don't say anything. Like they clearly are rattled by it, I think. But
yeah,
obviously, the only way to fix that is to have a live show.
yeah, yeah,
Another thing that often gets spoiled is, of course, the launch show is also pre-recorded.
yeah. I do try to avoid that one.
And for some people who are fans of the pros, pairings are a big deal.
Yeah, definitely.
For me personally, I'm not that bothered, but I know for some people that's like well, the launch show and the pairings are one of the highlights of the entire series.
Yeah, and the Christmas show as
I was
well.
about to say, and then also the Christmas spoiler,
Yeah, I mean,
which
I
again,
looked last year and then like wish I didn't because I was like, kind of like spoils it a little bit.
yeah, it just ruins the magic of it, doesn't it? Especially the Christmas
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Who
I mean,
doesn't?
obviously that can't be done live because,
No.
oh, you
It,
guys, you're not having a Christmas day because you're gonna do this.
yeah, they do. They are allowed Christmas Day off.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, there's nothing. There's nothing like strictly on Christmas Day. Um, just magical and stuff. And yeah, to look for me, I'm kind of weird with the spoiler. If if it's said to me, I won't mind. But I do
yeah,
prefer. I think I do prefer not to. Like, I'm not. I'm not bothered either way. But I prefer. If I had a choice, I probably would prefer not to know.
yeah. But I
Because
kind of do, but just like the curiosity gets me.
yeah, like if there's a big like kick off about it, then I want to know what
Yeah,
judges voted which way and stuff like that.
yeah,
Then I'm quite. So sometimes I'll say like, "Can you tell me was it a unanimous decision or not?"
yeah,
So then I know how they voted, but I don't know who it was. But sometimes you can
yeah.
tell by people don't often hide their emotions very well, especially if it's a shock.
No, no, yeah,
Let's just say. um,
yeah. And then it's like, my God, who was it? And sometimes if people are kind of like, oh, it's dead obvious, and then someone like was at the bottom of the leaderboard and messed up, then you kind of guess that it's going to be that one.
yeah, because the leaderboard can be completely turned on its head. Because obviously it's done by judges' scores and then the public.
Yeah,
And like they always say, vote because don't assume that someone else will vote
yeah,
because that's how people go home, isn't it? That's how shockers happen because they
yeah,
think, oh, they'll be safe, and then
yeah.
obviously not.
They're not. Yeah,
Yeah, and obviously we've talked about in previous episodes, like about the dance off and how it could be done slightly differently based on what other versions have done.
yeah,
Because currently, obviously, it's made quite clear that it's based on the night rather than potential, because that's also often when there's a shock, people will be like, but they've done so much. A's done so much better than B, but
yeah. I feel like a lot of people don't know that, even though it's been said so many
it's
times that
yeah,
it's done on that one dance. I feel like people are still like, but they had so much potential. It's like, oh yeah, but they messed up. They had a bad week.
yeah. completely. Like, it's like, yeah, it's a shame, but yeah. Well, it's like, I think probably last year, it reminds me like Michelle Visage.
Yeah.
Um, she was, solid throughout. And then she had a dance, it was the Vogue one, wasn't it? It didn't quite connect with what I would call the mainstream audience, I feel.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, she went home and it was a big shock and it was really sad and stuff. But
Yeah.
again, if she just had a week where it didn't quite connect. She took a risk. She was completely aware that she took a risk. She even said herself. And yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it just didn't quite hit. And you do get hits or misses in a show like that.
Yeah. It's just the risk you have to take, really.
Yeah, especially because they are allowing kind of new styles with like Couple's Choice and obviously voguing. That was a first,
Yeah. Yeah.
so people just weren't used to it.
No. No. I mean, I'm hoping, like, obviously this year will be different with the Nicola Adams and the first same-sex couple.
Yes, so moving on to that, we've got some lineup stuff to tell you because they finally started announcing, haven't they?
They
The
have.
lineup,
It seems to
and
have taken so long.
yeah, and now they're suddenly coming out like loads, aren't they? There's like three in a day and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So there's currently 10.
There are.
So you have Caroline Quentin, who's an actress, isn't she? And quite
Yeah.
famous, I feel, because my mum knew who she was. So I feel
I
like,
did.
yeah, I definitely recognised her name.
Yeah.
Jason Bell. Now this is the first because he's a NFL player, American football. We've never had
Yeah. I
that.
was
We've
kind of
never had,
surprised by that one.
yeah, because the obvious choice would be for him to do Dance with the Stars, of course.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was a pleasant surprise. Um, what else we got? We got Max George,
Yeah. From The
from The
Wanted.
Wanted. Again, I didn't know him like specifically, but obviously I knew The Wanted, and he's in that. So,
Yeah.
Ranveer Singh, I'd heard of her. I was like, yay, I knew her. Um, I think she'll be great. Clara. Sounds like Claire.
Yeah.
Clara Amphil. And then
Yeah. I've not heard of her, but
no,
she's a DJ on Radio 1.
yeah, and that obviously follows the trend because we had Dev last year, Dev Griffin.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's Nicola Adams, the Olympian boxer.
Yep.
Then Bill Bailey, a comedian. JJ Chalmers. I don't really know much about him.
No.
Did the Invictus Games.
Is he? Do you think he's a Paralympian in that case then, or is the Invictus? I don't know. Is the
Is that
Invictus
the...
Games the Paralympian one? I don't know.
No, I don't think
I've
so.
probably
I think
confused
it's
you there.
the one for the veterans.
Ah, that'll be it then. I knew it was something special. I just didn't know what.
Yeah. So yeah, I've never heard of him, but I'm sure I'll get to know him. Then Jamie Lang, who I was really hoping he would be
Yeah,
announced, but
yeah. Very.
also still, although everyone was kind of saying he will be, I wasn't 100% sure if he would or
It
not.
was very tragic, that he got injured last year.
Yeah, it was like the fact that he was in the launch show and everything, and then
Just wasn't.
yeah, just like that little bit at the end where it was like, unfortunately,
Yeah.
he's injured. And then the final one announced today was Maisie Smith. She's from EastEnders.
Yeah, I don't watch
So,
EastEnders, but
no,
lots of people
I don't.
seemed very pleased about this one online.
Yeah.
So
Well, she was in, which one was it? The Children Need Special.
yeah,
One of the specials that where she was with Kevin, and did she win?
I think she did quite well for sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so that's the lineup so far. I'm sure next week we'll have pretty much the full lineup. I imagine, won't we?
yeah, probably. It seems to be like
like I say, it seems
We've
to.
been waiting forever, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh,
It
everyone.
always seems to be like that, doesn't it? You seem to be waiting for ages, and then suddenly they just announce
Yeah,
loads in like a week or
yeah.
so.
And the fact that there was 4 today, or yesterday, as you're watching this.
Yeah.
Well, it depends when you're watching this.
Well, yeah, it does. If
Um,
it's like a year down the line, then
hello, future
yeah.
people. Is the world back to normal yet?
Anyway, so
um,
other news. So Sleepless musical has had its world premiere, and it stars Jay McGuinness, former Strictly contestant, and Kimberly
yes.
Walsh, who also. Um,
Yeah.
and it's a limited season running until the 27th of September at Wembley Park Theatre, and it's based off the hit film Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
So that is something that is running socially distanced at the moment.
Yeah. It sounds really good. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's a
think it'll
new
be
musical.
successful. Yeah.
But yeah, only a limited run for now, but who knows what could be on the horizon.
Yeah. And then I've also got Pippin, the musical, which I don't actually know much about Pippin. I feel like I've only kind of heard of it recently, but it's an outdoor musical and a revival, and that has extended its run by a further 2 weeks because it initially was only scheduled to run for 12 days, and it totally sold out. So they've now extended it, so it now runs for 33. So
Wow.
that runs until the 11th of October, but it is an outdoor musical, so I mean, hopefully the weather's all right.
Yeah, always weather permitting these things.
Yeah. And then the last bit of news is that I saw today and was quite excited about is there's a pantomime. Um,
Whee! After
so
all the cancellations.
yeah, so it'll be a brand new socially distanced pantomime, and it's in a giant big top. And the pantomime is Aladdin, and it's going to be the audiences are going to be socially distanced. So all the audiences, like everyone, will be sat on a sofa, distance from each other, which sounds pretty amazing. And then that runs from December the 15th to the 3rd of January. And currently, the cast hasn't been announced apart from Jamie Hensley from Union J, and he's going
Oh,
to be the genie.
wow.
So, yeah, and it's a covered and heated big top. So, it is going to be housed within the Luton Who estate and will have a capacity of 600. So, that's quite exciting.
Covered and heated, eh? Go.
Yeah. I mean, a big top just reminds me of the circus, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah. So there's not as much news this week, but well,
No.
actually, I feel like it varies. Sometimes there's more theatre stuff. This week is more Strictly,
Yeah.
which fits with our Strictly themed episode.
Yes.
So song of the week. It's my turn this week.
Yes. What have you chosen this week?
So I have chosen one that I've been meaning to put on there for a while actually. Um, on my own from Les Mis.
Oh.
I first heard this when I watched the film. Samantha Banks sang it, and she was incredible. And it's a scene from the film where she's just on her own, and
Yeah.
it's raining, like proper like stormy raining, and she's just singing about like heartbreak and stuff. And it's just it's beautiful. Great live as well because obviously I've seen the tour version.
Jealous.
Yeah, you will soon. You will soon.
Hopefully next September.
Yes, hopefully, and then you can bring us a lovely review of it.
I can. The waiting
We
continues.
can compare versions we saw because I'm pretty sure it might be a bit different. Um, so yeah, that's my pick this week. Next episode, we're gonna be talking about theatres in schools. So we're going on a bit of an
Yes.
educational trip because schools,
Yeah, with all the schools going back.
schools are going back this week. And just how it's perceived in schools because when we were growing up, we both had a similar kind of view of it, really, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all.
Time for the curtain call.